Well, welcome in everybody to another interview here on Granbury TV. Today we have Mayor Rickie Pratt. Today, of course, is February the 10th, 2012, and I tell you what, lots of things going on. Everything, always busy in the big city of Granbury. And the biggest thing that came out of the most recent city council meeting was the Opera House and the progression that we're going there. And then, of course, there was a big vote that it kind of got a little heated in the chambers, so to speak. So let's talk a little bit about that, because that's where we want to open up, is the progression of the Opera House, what's going on with the remodeling there, and what went on with that big vote that y'all had.
Well, we had a group come forward, and they were wanting to provide the city with an additional asset which could be incorporated into the ongoing renovation of the Opera House. That asset was in the form of a building known as the St. Helens Building, and it carried with it approximately some $700,000 as far as an asset value. The building itself is somewhere in the neighborhood of $575,000, but the group had actually raised some additional funds. And the hope was that we would expand the Opera House footprint, but City Council in the deciding vote decided they didn't want to accept the gift, and that's fine. That's the direction that we've gone down. And now we need to concentrate on where we're going forward with the renovation project. We've nailed it down now. We will not be expanding left or right. We will be expanding backwards, which was the goal all along, to add some backstage area. And in meeting with the architect and our production person, which is Andrew Barris with the new production company that's coming in, they got together, and whenever you put an artsy guy with an architect, there's no telling what'll happen. And we've looked at knocking through the back wall of the Opera House now in an effort to push the theater stage further back beyond the original footprint of the building, so that some 15 feet back the stage will actually start. That allows the architect to fit in additional restroom facilities. It's going to require a gutting of the theater. The stage has to come out. The seating has to actually be removed from the downstairs area. The box office will be renovated. The lobby will have a little bit of renovation. New stairwells are designed in to come down from the balcony, more of a circular stair as opposed to the right-angled stairs that are currently there, giving it a more of a Victorian appeal and a Victorian feel. And balcony is going to have a little bit of addition to it. The balcony, what we would refer to as the box seat area, will extend forward towards the back wall of the theater, allowing for additional box seats.
Oh, wow.
So it's a grander look inside the theater. New seats will come in. Actually, the old seats will be placed on new platforms.
Area.
It won't be so cramped. You will actually be able to walk past somebody's knees, which is almost like going to the movie theater.
Yes.
And you know, that's something that you've got to consider. A theater nowadays has a challenge to bring somebody out of their living room, bring somebody out of the digital age into a 3D live environment. And there's a challenge there. We see a lot of movement in media towards 3D because people want to be there. People want to be a part of the action. Where better can you be a part of the action than in live theater?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, I've said this numerous times. I've been on record as saying that there's nothing like live theater. there's nothing like performance art. And not only that, it also aids the community, because you get in there, you intermingle, you talk with your neighbors, you're able to commingle. It sets a sense of community and environment that for a long time, Granbury had that luster, where people were able to commingle with one another at a live entertainment venue like the Opera House, and I'm excited to see that coming back.
I think it's going to have a grand appeal for everybody. We'll probably see quite a growth. I'm anticipating great season ticket shares picking back up. A big interest in the live theater community, because people who go to live theater, they don't necessarily just go to one. They put a circuit together where they go from one live theater event to another. It's not like you're just dedicating yourself to a single venue when you're dealing with live theater patrons. They lust for that kind of live theater, that socializing like you referred to.
Absolutely.
But by going through the back wall, that means a new stage. That means a backstage area for the actors and the technicians. A fly rail system, which means that they will actually be able to move scenery in and out. A backdrop will be able to be a rope pulled, a backdrop comes in, a rope pull, and the backdrop goes away and you're into a whole new scene. It's the concept that a lot of proscenium theaters utilize. The Opera House has had to rely on moving of flats in and out because of the fact that they've got limited fly rail. With a new backstage structure at the same height the current Opera House is, you will actually have room for the fly rail system.
I'll tell you, I was so excited to see when I was in high school, theater arts. We did some productions at the Opera House, and it was so hard to get sets in and out and to move around, and you had to be so quiet because you were right there on top of that stage. Expanding that stage, it just allows you just more and more flexibility, and it'll also allow you to have a better look for the audience.
I think so. If you look at a stage, you know, it's more of a perspective kind of a look. The legs come in at the side to give you a perspective that stage just keeps going on and on. But you were referring to the wingspan space, and the wingspan is going to be broader towards the back of the stage than it will be at the front, because we have easement issues. You have to stay within the easement footprint of the Opera House. You can't, just because you're the city, you can't build onto the easement of your adjoining neighbors. Now, had the St. Helens building come to fruition, that would have been a definite bonus in your pocket to have the back of the St. Helens building to expand your wing to at least what's referred to as the stage right side. But we can't go there, people. We've already gone down another road. And that road is that we're going to need some help from the community. The help that we need in the community is that this knocking through the back wall to accommodate the seats, the enlargement of the bathrooms, to accommodate handicapped accessibility in the seating area. Those issues require us going further back outside the back wall. More money, more money, more money. So with $1.2 million on the table, we're seeing that $1.2 million not being able to cover the finer things that you require for technical theater, live theater, lighting. Our hope is to go green with our lighting this time. LED lighting will save tons of energy. With the LED lighting, you don't generate the heat that incandescent lamps.
Right. One
of the biggest money factors in sucking of money out of the pocketbook of any production company was the utility cost. Electric rate should be lower because you're dealing with LED lights. LED lights don't generate as much heat. New air conditioning runs more efficiently these days. And as a result, the air conditioning system should be able to keep up with the environment control inside of the seating area, because you're not generating the heat factor that you would be with incandescent lamps. So a money savings, it costs you a little bit on the initial side of it, but over the term of the venue and on the term of the summer season, we should see quite a bit of savings electric-wise. The other thing is we'd like to see advanced sound and lighting in the venues, state-of-the-art, but these things require community support. Those same dollars that the community was bringing forward to a building would serve this project well. This is not just about what the city has there in a venue. This whole project has to do with the Opera House and the stability of the Opera House as a working venue for live theater production. And it's not just going to be utilized for live theater. We anticipate the production company will bring in concerts, talk circuits. We'll utilize it for some corporate retreat that might come into our conference center and they need a venue within which to put on their industrial production. The venue will serve the community, not just with live theater. When the live theater is not producing, we've got pockets where we can put in concerts. The hope is to have an audio-video system there too. A screen that comes in before the Opera House starts their production that advertisers can advertise on the screen, much like a movie venue does. You would have a screen with a projector either in front or behind it, whichever one works best. You'd wind up having the wherewithal to produce advertising dollars that help support the Opera House in its ongoing effort. Out in the lobby, you would have digital displays set up that can show the production as it's going on for those that are in the lobby during the production, but also before production, after production, you can run a whole gamut of advertising and promotional marquee so that you build your season. I anticipate a lot of good to come out of the Opera House renovation. Did it go exactly the way I thought it should have? No, but this is the cards we're dealt. This is the hand we're working with. And I believe it's a good one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you cannot, when people get, when they don't actually get what they felt like they needed, sometimes the thing to do is just to say, well, to heck with it. Well, you can't do that because this is too precious of a resource for Granbury, Texas to just say to heck with it. We have to still come together as a community and as a city and get this done.
That's right. It's a local venue. It's an entertainment night spot, and every city needs a nightlife.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got to have a nightlife.
And in the arts, the creative arts, and this will be a true performance hall. Even from what I'm understanding, we will have the live performances like the Opera House, but we will still be able to utilize it as a performance hall for other venues to come in, and that just opens you up to more opportunities. And if you look at some of the other towns around that have similar venues, that's what they're doing.
Well, and you know, speaking of fine arts, Langdon Center. The Langdon Center was recently brought back to council for a decision to decide whether or not to put out some additional language to the Board of Regents of Tarleton State University. And we understand that towards the end of February, the Board of Regents will make a decision on whether or not to gift that to the city. The City Council on that particular gift of real estate said, let's do it. And that particular venue has served our community for quite some number of years as a fine arts venue. They have demonstrated some small concerts. They have had outdoor yard concerts where they've actually had live big bands show up from Tarleton.
Very nice.
They've had jazz ensembles put on outdoor events. It's been incorporated in with the wine walk on several years now. And they also bring in fine art, paintings and portraits, photographs. Those kind of things. It served as a great venue. What can the city utilize that property for? I mean, the property is a city block. No matter how you look at it, it's a city block. It's got some 6 buildings on it.
Absolutely.
Are they in a little bit of disarray? I have to admit they are, but they are not to where you can't go in there today and operate.
Absolutely.
You don't have to worry about being able to operate within the venue at those locations right now. You can go in. There's some roof repairs that need to be done. There's some painting on the exterior of the actual Gordon house, which has to be done. The chimney is detaching itself up on the west side of the Gordon house. Needs to be re-secured to the building. But is it falling down tomorrow? No. But it does need to be addressed. The city has assured me that we have the monies to address some of these. We can't address them all right away, but we do have some dollars that should be able to be accommodating towards those kind of things.
A lipstick and rouge and just a couple of little alterations, we should be just fine.
Yeah. And one of the venues there, the AP Gordon House, there is some talk about utilizing it to help expand our tourism and marketing. Our communication director might relocate to that venue. Nothing's set in stone because we don't know for sure whether the Board of Regents is going to say yes on this venture.
And we'll know that late
February we will know.
This month.
Yes.
Just
a few months away. Few weeks
away. Yeah, absolutely. Now, you'd mentioned earlier that we're thinking green.
We are.
When we're talking about the Opera House and some of the things that we're putting in there in our updates of some of our buildings and everything, we're thinking green, how to be environmentally conscious and also how to save money in the process of doing so. And I know that Earth Day is coming up, and that's a big project that you guys are taking on.
Well, Earth Day happens in April. And April is the month that we started our first recycling event here in Granbury last year in April. And it turned out to be a very well accepted venue event. It took place over across from the conference center in Hewlett Park. It was went from like 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. It's going to happen again. I got contacted by that company that brought their truck down to accept those recycled electronics. The last year they took away computers, computer peripheral products, hard drives. They crushed them in a crusher. So if you were concerned about your data being carried out of there, they would pull your hard drive out of the computer, let you hit the button on their crushing machine, and you watched it get crushed up to where nobody could have retrieved data from that thing. It was pretty impressive, very impressive. But we had over 290 countywide and citywide participants bring truckloads, trailers full of computers. And they filled up 1.5 trucks. They expected 1 truck. I said beforehand, I said, you might want to bring down a second truck just in case. And they were amazed that they filled 1 entire truck full of pallets piled high with electronics and carried them out of our community. They also accepted TVs last year. There was a charge for TVs. They have assured me this year, you can bring that old TV that's cluttering up your closet, cluttering up your garage or your attic space, and you can bring it down free of charge this year. So they are accepting TVs, VCRs, DVDs, computers, cell phones. They are doing all of that. And there's no charge, no cost for you, the citizen of Hood County. So I encourage you, when April comes around, mark your calendar. The date right now is tentatively April 28th. We'll nail it down permanently the closer we get. And the hope is that you will take advantage of this chance to clean out the refuge. And if you're like me, I'm in the audio video business. I haul off a lot of product for people because they have no place to get rid of it. And I've got warehouse full. I will be taking full advantage of getting my hands on some of my product and emptying out some warehouse.
Well, not only that, not only does it clear out space for you and everything else like that, but you can be assured that what you're doing is you're helping your community. I know that some of the most green thumb cities around are your cleaner, more squared away areas. And we want to keep Granbury looking nice and clean, and this is a way you can get rid of some of that clutter.
Yeah, and even if it's clutter that's been setting out in the backyard, say you got that old console TV from 1969 and it's sitting out in the backyard because you just didn't have the heart to get it all the way out, this is your opportunity to get rid of that. So it's a positive thing for the community.
Most
no
definitely.
matter what area of the community you're living in, this is not restricted to you being a citizen in the city limits. This is a community-wide Hood County event. Even if you live across the line into Parker County and you're up in Lake Country Acres, bring it. We want to help you get rid of your electronic refuge.
Absolutely. And you know, this station does broadcast in Somerville County. We do have some people in Parker County that watch us, and even in the far west side of Tarrant County. If you're hearing us, you want to come out there for April Earth Day, and we will nail down the date. Now, tentatively, it's set for
April 28th.
April 28th.
Probably from 9 to 3 that day inside of what's called Hewlett Park. It's right on Pearl Street. Also, that same weekend, in conjunction with this, there is an April event called the Wine Walk.
Oh, yeah.
So after you drop off your goodies, go cart yourself up to our square, take a walk around, get you a glass of wine and some cheese, and live the high life for the afternoon.
I'll tell you what, and you know, you think about that. We have a nice winery here locally. We have a couple in the area.
Yeah.
And you know, Divine Wine, they're on the, I'll throw them a cheap plug. They're over there off of the square and everything. And last year, I remember the ladies walking around with the wine. The husbands were sitting on the park benches. I didn't understand that, but
that's just one of those things. Maybe their legs got tired.
yes, I saw some gentleman looked a lot like you. He had the brown bag around it, and I don't know what.
Yeah, that's because I was embarrassed because I was drinking water.
You're drinking Perrier.
People kept trying to offer me wine, and I'd say, no, I've got something.
Got the water.
So I had the waters.
Got the water. Of course, coming up, you know, there's always something going on here in Granbury, and we always have big events. And my boss, Shanna Smith-Sider, newly to the city, doing a great job with tourism and with the TV station here. And I know she's really looking forward to it. I know you as well. I'm really looking forward to it because the square is so pretty right now. General Granbury's birthday is going to be a big bash this year.
You know, we've got a newly paved square.
Yes, we do.
We've got a beautiful restored courthouse.
Yes, we do.
We have seen this project go on and on. And this year, actual General Granbury's birthday party, bean and rib cook-off, sponsored by the Historic Granbury Merchants Association, is going to take place around a newly revised and revamped square. It's a beautiful thing. I can't wait to see the hustle and bustle that takes place as the vendors start pulling in and the music cranks up and you start getting that feel that, hey, spring is breaking. And it's well, I must say that one event during General Granbury's, we actually had to cancel. I think that was 2 years ago because of frigid cold weather.
Yep.
And we could not hold any of the event outdoors. We actually had 3 vendors weather the storm of a blistery cold north wind blowing in. But I'm crossing my fingers. We're going to get any cold weather out of the way before the bean rib cook-off takes
it's going to be great. I already think that this is probably going to go down as one of the best ever. And you know, the planning that went in to the square restoration and, you know, paving the area and that sort of thing was they had allowed for electrical devices. You're not going to have a lot of the clustery debris area of extension cords running all over the place that people used to stumble over. They have prepared for what we actually do on that square during these events, and it's going to be nice.
Well, with regard to that, it is not completed just yet. The electrical upgrade on the square has not been performed to where it takes the electrical boxes into consideration on the outer perimeter of the square.
On the outer, but the inner.
Inner square still has the proper capabilities, has had, but there is an upgrade in progress right now. Whether or not the city can go hand in hand with HGMA, Chamber of Commerce, and maybe the county on performing the upgrade electrical package. That's my hope. It can be partnered on.
Well, I know that they've been working on it, and that is something that they're thinking about doing, and it would really beautify the area, I think, when events like this come in.
And it needs to be done before July 4th. Last year, July 4th, there was so much, because of the heat, there was so much electrical draw on the square that it actually broke a breaker. It popped a breaker. That's a 600 amp breaker. Now, that takes a lot to pop a 600 amp breaker. That's a lot of current draw.
That is a lot of current.
And I got to tell you, we are hoping that we can get something accomplished before we roll around to that 4th of July event.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. Beans and ribs.
Beans and ribs is a good mix.
Oh.
I eat a lot of that stuff up. You go around, you get your bean sample kit, and I hope to encourage the community to come and join us for the outdoor outhouse race.
Yes, now I'm actually going to participate this
Are
year
you?
in the outhouse race. I've watched it the last 2 years with interest, and I'm going to have the silver streak. I'm going to have the winning outhouse.
Well, I wish you the best. You know, there are rules for that event.
Rules?
Yeah. There's actually rules for that event. The outhouse, when it crosses the finish line, must be in an upright position.
Right.
You can't spill your fuel around the square.
Right. Well,
and a person must always be on the commode seat.
Right.
So
it's not a
take
problem.
that into
That's not a
consideration.
problem. Donnie is used to it. He's going to be my driver this year. And I tell you, rules. Now, the rules don't apply to me, right? I can skirt those?
No.
No. Well, we'll go back to the drawing board, but I promise you, I've got the best driver. Donnie Wood, he's going to handle it.
Well, you might want to get a second pusher because going back up Houston Street, it's a bear. Because you start down Crockett Street in a downhill manner, you have to make the corner there by the Nut House Hotel. And then you got to round back up going uphill past the First National Bank.
I got a strong
hope you
team.
Got your mojo.
Got a strong team.
Got to have good legs.
Got a strong team. I'm not going to give it away, offensive lineman for the Granbury Pirates, but I'm going to have a good, strong pushing team.
I also want to inject that you have to change drivers about halfway around too.
Well, what if Donnie's not done?
Well, let's hope he wipes and gets off quickly.
All right. Well, we'll have a second driver. I will find a second driver. Gosh, all these rules.
Yeah,
all these rules you hit me with.
I can't help it. I didn't write them.
You didn't write them.
I just fell into knowing about them.
You just have to follow them.
But we encourage everybody out there, every group, every organization, to put together some sort of an outhouse vehicle. At one time, we actually had 10. Yes. We had to have 2 heaps in order to get around the square, and then we had a runoff. And so if we could get back up to that number, it would be quite a bit of fun on the square. So I encourage you, if you're an organization, a bank, a hospital district, a church organization, a youth group, this is a chance for you to participate in a great event that is so much fun for the family.
Oh, yes.
Love it.
It's a blast.
Love that one.
I don't miss the outhouse races. I watch them intently, and I never mess them. When I am writing this down, you did mention runoff and outhouse race at the same time, so in the same sentence. So I'm writing that one down. Now, I'll tell you, let's touch on this because I grew up here, Granbury, Texas. Grew up here, Granbury boy. And I remember when 377 was 2 lane and maybe 2 lights. And now we've got just new businesses, places of commerce just coming in left and right off of 377. And of course the HEB area, it's just continually expanding, and we've got some exciting businesses. And of course I wanted you to touch on that a little bit.
Well, that's true. The HEB complex, and I do mean a complex, it's turned into quite an economic boom for us. HEB has these additional buildings that are popping up. We've got an American State Bank that will be breaking through the door with a grand opening here real soon. They already opened up the McDonald's there. There's a spa up there. There's a nail salon. There's an insurance agency up there. There's a Subway house to eat a Subway sandwich at.
And there's there's also a gold and silver exchange there.
Yeah, there's
you can go
jewelry
in there and sell your gold and silver at just unheard of prices. I mean, they do really good job. There's a rent-to-own place there, I believe. There's just so much business going into that area, and not only in that area, but outside of the boundaries of that area. The First National Bank expanding
their motor bank out there to accommodate their loan division is quite an expansion project. They've actually increased their footprint probably 2-fold over what they were originally. And they're going to have a new entrance and a new way, multiple lanes of getting your drive-through teller operation in the works. But their big goal was to expand their loan department. Their mortgages are handled out of that area. And so they're expanding. I love it. First National Bank has been here since 1800s. They're the first bank I went to. I'm still with them. I'm a faithful believer in them. And they've set up all these branches throughout our community. They've got multiple branches.
Just a great group of people. And, you know, across the street, there's a facility being built on that one corner where they had all that crushed rock, and now they've got it looking nice. And then over on the other corner, the racetrack. And, you know, for the long time, I thought I'd never see a racetrack in Granbury, Texas. But only that, this thing's nice. It really puts a whole different kind of spin on a convenience store.
It does, and it's so clean inside.
Oh my goodness.
I love the fact that these buildings that have popping up, these new businesses, are keeping their venue clean. Their establishment is like, you go in there and it's spick and span. It has a new breath of fresh air, and I hope they keep it. I hope the momentum stays with this economy. It's an election year, and every election year, towards the end, everybody hunkers down. You know, we were talking about a local infusion of economic monies at the Opera House.
Right.
And I think that's what we've got to do as communities all across the United States. We need to put our local dollars into the local projects that help the community. This giving to the national funds and stuff like that hasn't really worked out so well for the smaller communities. You've got big government that's run amok, I'd like to say, but local government, you actually have to prove some accountability on a local level.
Absolutely.
So by using local monies, local economy, it's a win-win.
You want to take care of your own neighborhood and your own environment, your own community. That should be your first and foremost goal.
I think it's a win-win for everybody when you do it that way.
And then it grows out from that. You see other communities that say, hey, look what they're doing over here, and look how they're working so well together. And then they do that and they do that. That's how we take care of the nation as a whole.
Well, we hear time and time again about our town square and how the historic aspect of it is, and how we are a hubbub of tourism industry. The problem we've got is we do have a very green tourism industry. It's not impeding anybody's breathing, health issues. You know, the EPA has this big thing about non-attainment. What that means, people, non-attainment means if your particulate matter reaches a certain level in your community and it has a high reading, they take that high reading, compare it to the highest reading another year, and another year, and then they average that together. And if your particulate matter reaches a level that the EPA says is not within their standard, not their goal of that year, they throw you into what's non-attainment. And that affects economic development. Not only will it affect oil and gas industry, it's going to affect the guy who's running a lawnmower in his backyard. It's going to affect the cars that are idling out on 377. The construction industry will be affected because of the fact that a cement truck, for instance, when it's at a job site pouring a slab, it's idling, it's running. It's got some sort of diesel motor running. And buses, the school district has numerous diesel buses. All of these issues affect your entire community. Is breathing here better than in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex? I have to say it is. But the EPA says it's your air that's down here in Hood County that is affecting the Metroplex. And because of that, we're going to put you into non-attainment. I think it's a way where they can build their average numbers out, because our average number for particulate matter is 0.076. But in the Metroplex, it's higher. Well, if you get a mix of low numbers with high numbers, lo and behold, the average goes down. And the EPA looks like they did good.
Yeah, we just
They
helped you
did
out.
good.
Yeah.
Look how good we did. But in reality, our economy will suffer, because new industry is what we need here locally. We need something to bring jobs to Granbury and to Hood County. It doesn't have to be inside of the city limits of Granbury, but the city limits does have the ability to provide water, sewer, electric, and we have the amenities that businesses look for when they relocate. The issue of the airport expansion coming down the pike, that's going to take place. By 2015, we should have the new runway built. It'll be a 5,100-foot runway. The Texas Department of Transportation Aviation Division is working on procuring property for the airport expansion. And it's moving. Slowly, but it's moving. It is TxDOT after all. But we're seeing some innovative moves by TxDOT in our community. They went down just the other day down to Pearl Street and Houston Street intersections, and they modified those intersections, poured a new layer of asphalt over there. They smoothed out the wrinkles. You know, they poured that initially in the heat of summer.
Right.
It happened around Memorial Weekend, if I remember right, because it hampered our parade. And then shortly thereafter, the trucks started coming in, the cars start coming in. All of a sudden, the buckling of the pavement occurs. At least they did it in a little cooler month to where it will settle in, and we shouldn't see the buckling appear for quite some time. And I applaud TxDOT for taking the foreground on that without having to be hounded by us again and again and again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that's about all I can think of to talk about, you know.
Well, I'll tell you, we've hit.
I hope it's been.
Oh, we've hit a lot. We've hit a lot. And, you know, I appreciate you coming in, keeping us updated on what's going on in the city and in the area. And the main thing we want our viewers to know is that you live in a great city. You live in a fantastic city, in a great community. Be a part of it. And show up at these meetings. You know, sometimes if they don't go the way you want it to go, that doesn't mean that we can't regroup and pull together for the same goal.
That's right. Your voice is heard whether you're for something or against something.
Absolutely.
And hopefully council will create the right decision. And hopefully I can run an orderly meeting and keep things on track. We appreciate the time. Thank you very much, David.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. We'll be back with more on Granbury TV.